What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the LA Soccer Hub Show. My name is Gio Garcia, and today we're talking LAFC. LAFC beat the Houston Dynamo 3-1. It was good to see them win again. I know there was a lot of questions going into this one because a lot of people were, kind of there's a questions up in the air. They ended up losing the Supporters Shield race. Now they obviously with this win they're tied with Philadelphia Union. And here to help me talk about all that, we got Michele from TUDN. Michele, how you doing?
How are you, Gio? I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, it's good to see you. We're just talking. You've been all over the place, man. You've been all over the U.S.
Yeah, it's been a tough month. Past 2 weeks have been crazy too. Nashville, New York for Campeones Cup, Atlanta, tomorrow Cincinnati for Leagues Cup, Salt Lake City Leagues Cup, and then decision day is coming. So playoffs, MLS Cup, the World Cup. I'm
Yeah,
excited, but I'm a bit tired right now.
I feel you. I know we were talking about this. Yeah, me too. I'm just like, man, the season. You don't realize how long the season is once you actually covering it, and you're like
Yeah.
talking about every game and everything, and you're just like, man, yeah. So we're almost there. We got a couple more games. We're almost there, and then it's the home stretch, and then I think we get a break before the playoffs start. So I think it's gonna be good. But yeah, lots going on. But yeah, up until decision day, it's gonna be exciting. A lot of tournament events. What do you think overall? What do you think about this performance for LAFC? Obviously, they got the big 3-1 win over the Houston Dynamo.
How much you need a win, especially at home, especially at Houston, which is a rival that you have to win at home, away, etc. I think that defeat at Houston was one of the worst, probably the worst game that LAFC has played the whole season. And I know that players were very excited. Some I spoke with some players before even the Philadelphia Atlanta game on Saturday, and they were all watching, um, rooting for Atlanta because
Hmm.
they care about the supporter shields. I know that for LAFC fans or media will say they don't care about it. It's it's MLS Cup or bust, but they do care about supporter shields. It's a title, and winning supporter shields, I believe it's important because once it gives you winning your conference gives you the CONCACAF Champions League spot, which I think is very valuable, right?
Hmm.
And then winning the supporter shields, I think it says something, and it says that you were the better team the whole season. And yeah, it doesn't mean anything if you don't win MLS Cup, but it's a title. Players do care about it. I think fans care about it. Media care about it. I think it's important. And but on I know there's people that don't care and they just want to win MLS Cup, like already happened with this team, with that record season, with the points record, winning the Shield, and then falling up short. But yeah, I think it's a much needed win, especially after Philly dropping points in Atlanta and having that extra motivation of regaining the Supporter Shields race. And it's just two games that now they can breathe a little bit, especially Sherondolo, and he can start establishing which is his best 11 to face the playoffs, which I think is the same 11 that we saw yesterday. I think that's the best formation and the best 11 guys that he's going to keep riding for the next two games and the start of the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I would agree with what you had to say there, especially the best 11 there of what you got going on. But yeah, and you mentioned your point about the supporter shield. Yeah, things kind of went their way with Philadelphia, tying against Atlanta. We know Atlanta is not a good team. Now if both teams win out, then LAFC has the tiebreaker because the amount of wins. I believe that's the tiebreaker. So things went well. Now just LAFC, in order for them to win the supporter shield, it just falls on them. And I think that's an easier job than trying to depend on Philadelphia to screw up, which they did. But to count on another team or trying to depend on that, I don't think you ever want to. You typically don't want to do that. So now everything's starting to fall in line for LAFC, for Steve Sherando, for Carlos Vela, and all those guys, because I think the that trophy is there, and I think I'm with you. I think they got to win everything out, right? You're talking about the supporter shield first, and then the MLS Cup and everything in between. But yeah, this team's back. They're going to the CCL. They're going back to the CONCACAF Champions League because they're going to finish first in the Western Conference. What are your thoughts on LAFC being back in the Champions League for next year?
I think Seattle already showed the way. Like, this is something that bothers me a lot when teams don't give enough importance to CONCACAF Champions League or even US Open Cup. I know, for example, that a team like LAFC and a coach like Steve Cherondolo wants to win everything they play. So that's why I wouldn't minimize getting supporter shields. I know for them was a huge blow being eliminated from US Open Cup. Not because you were eliminated by the Galaxy. That's a separate issue, right? That made it look worse. But they want to win everything, and I believe that Seattle showed a way. And how cool it is now that next year an MLS team is going to be playing a club World Cup, and you are going to be playing against the best European teams. You can be playing against Real Madrid on a potential final. You can be playing against Flamengo, whoever wins Copa Libertadores. Those are the tournaments and those are the matches that are going to take Major League Soccer to the next step, right? Alongside with opening more spending, being more, giving teams more freedom to spend more, to invest more. Now teams are doing a better job with the academies. Everything adds up. But what I like about especially Seattle winning the CCL is that now a team like LAFC, teams in Major League Soccer are going to see what Seattle is going to do. Like how cool it is to play against Flamengo, against Real Madrid on a game that matters. Not a whatever summer
Exhibition
tournament
game. Yeah.
exhibition game. No. Like you're playing Real Madrid, you're playing Flamengo for the chance to win a trophy, right? And LAFC right now, it's and that's why I think they also view us as the villains, right? The big spenders bring in the big names with Bale, with Chiellini, etc., and that shows the ambition that this club has. And that ambition, it's cannot just stay within Major League Soccer. It needs to go international. Mm-hmm. So I think they're going to be one of the favorites with, of course, all the Mexican teams that play CCL. And I'm excited to see what they can do because to this team, yeah, probably they're going to lose some pieces. Probably they're going to lose Cifuentes after the World Cup. Probably their Bale probably doesn't stay. We have to see that. We have to see if they win MLS Cup. If Carlos Vela stays, even though he just renewed. So this team, I'm very excited, given that ambition that they have, that they want to compete for every trophy and mimic what Seattle did this year, what they're going to do spending and investing wise. So I'm very, very excited because this is not a team that is going to be content to just, we made CCL. We get to play against Mexico team. No, this team wants to win. And as like this year, it's MLS Cup or bust. Next year is going to be CCL or bust. So that's exciting.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you mentioned the Bell point. We'll get more into the Bell point because I definitely want to dive deep into that. But I'm with you on that. I'm with you on the CCL. Seattle paved the path, right? And you're right. Yeah. These are exciting now because look, I've been to all these exhibition games. They're cool, but it's like at the end of the day, the Stars will play for 45 minutes and then it goes, right? Then it's the second half. But to see an MLS team to play for something that actually matters, a trophy, it goes a long way, right? And you mentioned the additions of Chiellini and Bell, right? Those were brought on to win trophies, right? Bring big expectations for them to hopefully play in the Champions League. And to me, that a team like LAFC, a team like the Galaxy should be competing in those tournaments because of where we're located. We're in Southern California, we're in Los Angeles. We can attract those players, and I think every year they should be able because they just have they just have more resources. They're more attractive than say for Cincinnati or whoever because it's LA. And that's just the point of the matter is what I'm saying. So I think I'm with you with that, and I'm very curious to see how this team does during the MLS playoffs because I think that's their first big challenge with this group and how
Yeah.
they do because right now they're going through a little bit of what did you say like a bumpy road, I guess if we could say, because it hasn't been as smooth as the start of the season, and it's not
Yeah.
going to get I'm glad they got the win yesterday, but it's going to get much more difficult once the playoffs kick off, and we're going to really see how this team really does. um let's talk about the win yesterday. Obviously, they ended up winning 3-1. Carlos Vela got a brace. He ended, obviously 2 PKs, ended up putting away. But the one guy I want to talk about first is Dennis Bouanga. Talk to me about him
Hmm.
because to me he's been amazing so far since a short amount of time, and I've been very impressed with what he's shown.
I love the signing. I love the player. I was very adamant saying that he was going to be a huge upgrade over Brian Rodriguez.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think he's the perfect player for this system. And the people that are getting like desperate because I'm starting to see and read and hear, no, he's the same as Brian Rodriguez. He cannot.
Those
Um,
people are crazy.
he doesn't have the final touch. He's not scoring yet. We got to remember that this league. What's the common denominator when a player comes to this league, especially from Europe? They're surprised how physical the league is, and this is something that even Greg Berhalter says. When he's asked about the MLS players and what he wants to see in Major League Soccer, he was talking about this. I think couple of weeks ago in an interview with Major League Soccer that he was saying MLS sometimes it's there's no breaks. It's just
Mm-hmm.
full gas for 90 minutes. And we got to remember that Buanga, yes, he had a preseason with his team, but he wasn't playing, he didn't play very much competitively. And then he comes in the heat of MLS during summer, playing games with 100% humidity, with 95% uh, degrees Fahrenheit, traveling, and every player that has come. Do you remember after Bale and Chiellini played their first game, how they were talking about how humid it was,
Mm-hmm.
how warm it was, how the game is so fast compared to Europe? So I think Boanga has actually have done better than expected.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was going to take a little bit more time to be fully great, which he's not. But I think that yesterday we saw a big step, and that's why I think the starting formation yesterday and the starting 11 and the next two games, I think we are gonna see the same 11 playing again and again
Mm-hmm.
because this is the team, and Sherondolo now has to give repetitions to this 11 because I do believe that this is the best 11 that they have, and this is the best 11 that they're gonna put when the first game of the playoffs come. Because we got to remember now they're going to have a bye on the first round. They have the FIFA window now, so they're going to basically play the next two competitive matches in a span of like almost 3 weeks, maybe even a month, until the first playoff
Playoff
game
game. Yeah.
comes. So they're gonna have time to recover, and yeah, I think yesterday it was a good showing of what it was a good reminder of what this team was during the
Mm-hmm.
start and mid of the season, and when it can and what this team can be again moving forward, and with this 11 in particular, when the playoffs start. So I think, and of course the win quiets the critics, lowers the pressure. You're back into the supporter shields. Um, being back as um the how do you say
The
it, the
contenders,
in
the contending for the
yeah,
supporter shield.
they're back, they're back controlling their own faith
Mm-hmm.
for the supporter shield. So yeah, last night was huge, and I think now this team's not gonna look back. It's just gonna look forward with this 11 moving forward. And I think they again, I haven't moved in my opinion. I think they're the legitimate favorites for getting the MLS Cup, and I don't. I think teams needs to be worried that LAFC is back, and
Hmm.
LAFC is just gonna get better the next during the next 2-3 weeks of what we saw last night. So that's scary thought for the rest of the league again.
Yeah, I think this win just builds a little bit more confidence. I think that to me, I think I would like to see. I think a little bit more consistency how they do against the Portland Timbers, and then obviously Nashville at home. I think these next two games are going to be very very difficult because those two teams are also containing for playoff position where they
Mm-hmm.
fall in line. But just to finish on the Dennis Bonga, I love this creativityness. I love his maturity. I love how he reads the game. Like that first that I was showing the video there of the first PK that he got. It was just smart. It's what a winger's supposed to do, right?
Right.
Unfortunately, he got fouled, and that's what he creates so many opportunities. Whether it doesn't show on the stat sheet, but to me he passes the eye test. He
Yeah.
passes the eye test. Everything that you expect him to do. And you mentioned, I think his maybe I don't recall. I think his first match was against the Houston Dynamo. It might have been against the Houston Dynamo. I don't recall, but I
Yeah.
remember it was
Yeah.
it the and I saw it, and I just saw some of those movements, and to me, like I know it's been a couple games, but to me, Dennis Bonga is a baller, and he's a true player. Because those just is a couple games I've seen more than enough to see that. To me, he's a starter up there with Carlos Vela and Chicho Rango, because I do believe those are the best starting three right now that LAFC have. But yeah, let's also talk about Ryan's Hollingshead, because that man continues to score goals. He continues to find the back of the net. And no one expected this from Ryan Hollingshead at the start of the season. We all knew about Ryan Hollingshead as a right back, as a defender, but he's breaking out, scoring goals. I believe that's his fifth. He scored his fifth goal of the season yesterday. That's insane. It's insane. No one expected this. I know he said he doesn't expect him, but now he's actually a real threat when he gets in the box, when he gets in there. Talk to me about Ryan Hollingshead.
And the most important thing, because yeah, the goals I think are the cherry on top, right? But he's been there the whole season, playing whichever position um, Cherondolo has needed from him. Left back, right back. He played as a winger, remember, in the game
Mm-hmm.
against San Jose. Um, in Dallas, he even played center back. He played defensive mid, and he's a leader in the locker room. He's a guy that's always in a great mood. I spoken with some players, and he's one of the most loved guys in the locker room. He's always smiling. He's always joking about the mustache. Remember with that when he shaved, the team started losing, and now he's back with the mustache, and the team has started to win again. So he's one of the guys that that makes the locker room special, right? And
Mm-hmm.
LAFC has a great locker room, and he's one of the guys that has kept the good atmosphere intact in what the past couple of months that has been really rough. And in a team like this, with all the expectations, all the pressure, all the criticism, it could have been easy for the locker room or everyone to just fall down and be in a bad mood. And that's something that, credit to Sherondolo, but credit to players like Holling said, there have been a plus plus on the field, but also a plus plus off the field. So yeah, if you have to give an MVP of the season within LAFC, I think he's there, top three, top five with Ilie and Chicharango,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I think he deserves it. He's in the probably in the back end, starting the back end of his career. He was in the quote unquote shadow, playing for a lot of years in Dallas, and now that he's on the LA spotlight, now he's getting the praise and the shine that he deserves, and I'm very happy for him.
Yeah, no, he's definitely getting the recognition. He's definitely getting known around the league a lot more, right? When you play alongside Carlos Vela, Chiellini, and Bell. But yeah, to me, what I've seen from him, regardless, he scored. I think most of his goals from headers, set
Yeah.
pieces. The ball just came to him. He looked like a forward. He looked like a number 9 in this play. how he moved the
Yeah.
ball around and blasting it past the keeper, and then he does a signature mustache celebration right there that you see at the end. And you're right, and these are the type of players that you need, right? You're a great player. You said you added the cherry on top with the goals, and then what he provides in the locker room. Yeah, it just adds so much, and I think these are the type of players. These are the type of veteran players at LAFC that will get potentially LAFC to that promised land when it comes to the
Yeah.
MLS Cup, because there's so many things that are gonna happen in a season, in a playoff game, and I think they're starting to weather the storm here in the last couple games and stuff. But yeah, it's good to see players like him, because to me, I love to see how he does, because he was also Franco Escobar, who we know he's had a couple bit of injuries. He's not been as available, but there's every position has some competition. So, and you're right, wherever they called his name, whether it's up top, or in the midfield at times, or in the back, he's always answered it. So he's done pretty good. Talk to me about the midfield. Let's talk about this midfield, because we'll show, because you keep saying this is the best lineup for LAFC. Let's see if we can bring this up. Let's talk about the midfield. I think the midfield is there: Acosta, Sanchez, and Cifuentes. How you feeling about those guys?
I mean, that's it. And that has been the midfield when this team started the season, when this team was just running away with the supporter shields. And and during the summer windows, the transfer windows, everybody and me, we were talking about, obviously, like, oh, they potentially are gonna, they were listening to offers for Chicho Arango. There were teams coming close to offers for Chicho Arango. Then he started scoring, and obviously that also made the team look elsewhere. And then all the talk was just forwards, wingers, the Brian Rodriguez saga, Tello, Boanga, Bale, etc. And it was weird that the midfield was never a subject, or was
Mm-hmm.
never a place where they felt they needed to make a big splash. Yeah, they brought Mendes, but my opinion has always been that the difference between the starting three, the Sifu, Acosta, and Ilie, the drop off from those three to what you have in the bench, it's the big issue that this team
Mm-hmm.
has, right? So we know the numbers when Ilie hasn't played. They've lost. I think they've lost all the games that Ilie hasn't played, right? And and that creates problems, because we saw in the past, when you need to move, for example, Kellen to play the six, then you are weakening two positions.
Mm-hmm.
You're weakening the six because Kellen is not better than Ilie playing the six for this team, and then you're inserting Latif, Mendes, or Ginella at the beginning of the season, or whoever is going to play as an eight, but that player isn't isn't better than Acosta, right? Playing the eight. So one guy created two problems, right? And we saw that, especially in the last month, with Ilie being suspended, with Kellen also getting a knock, with Cifuentes lowering his level of play a little bit, and yeah, if I think it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's in the back line. I don't think it doesn't matter who's up front, because all of the options that this team has. But if these three guys are not playing consistently and there for the whole playoffs, this team is not winning MLS Cup.
Yeah.
So these three guys have to be playing, and playing well, for this team to be the better version, the better version that they can be, and that means the favorite to win MLS Cup. If something happens with Ilie, or with Cifuentes, or with Acosta during the playoffs, I think it's done. I think this team
Mm.
has no shot, and it doesn't matter who plays up forward, who plays in the back. Everything needs to go through these three guys, and it sucks because the roster is so competitive and it's so deep, But
Hmm.
that gap between these three starters and what you have on the bench, I think it's massive compared
Mm.
to the rest of the roster.
So yeah, I would agree with you on the midfield. What we've seen, especially when Ilya Sanchez did not play against Austin FC, we saw a big drop off in the midfield because he is the connector, right? He is
Right?
able to connect it from the defense and to offensive. Yeah, and I think they still have some weapons, but I think it would be interested to see, not something that we want to project. I think you want to see every team at the best. But yeah, we've seen when this team doesn't have Ilya Sanchez, and whether Cifuentes is at times has struggled to make that final pass. And I think, to me, yeah, if they miss I think Cifuentes is easier to replace out of those three. But if they miss Acosta or Ilya Sanchez in the playoffs for whatever reason, things could get very, very difficult for them, because it's not. We've seen how it's looked during the regular season, and we could
Right.
only imagine what it could potentially happen
Let me
come
let me
playoff
give you an
time.
example. Let me give an example. For example, with Philly, right?
Hmm.
Philadelphia has been the best team for the past couple of months. I could throw you all the numbers that you want. It's the team that has scored more goals, the team that has conceded least goals. They've been pounding teams 7-0, 6-0. They've won 5 in a row. They've won 12 out of the 16. They've been the best team for the last couple of months, right? But we saw against Atlanta on Saturday, they had the whole team except Alejandro Bedoya. And Bedoya, he's not the sixth, but he's the connector on that team. He's the guy that can be the calming presence and the guy that knows when to, okay, guys, we need to do this, we need to do that. We're
Control the
gonna
game.
let's control the game. And they against an Atlanta team that plays fast in transition, they have guys that are very good with the ball on their feet, with Almada, with Araujo, etc. And they were missing Bedoya, and they looked like a different team.
Hmm.
Atlanta just dominated the whole game, especially through the midfield. And that's what I mean with when I talk about Ilya being an MVP candidate, and not, I mean, the numbers back that up, but you can see like Philly, it's looked upon like the perfect team, the perfect machine, this unstoppable train, and you remove one piece that in the eyes of people or on paper doesn't look as important, like Bedoya, and the team just doesn't function
Hmm.
very well. So and that's how I see the LAFC situation, especially in that word that you use, the connector.
Hmm.
Because with teams that
I mean,
play
we saw Austin FC. It was they the disconnect from the
right,
midfield. It was so bad.
exactly,
It was
and
so
the
bad.
teams that depend on being good and fast on transition, they need that connector.
Hmm.
And they also need that connector to defend, right?
Hmm.
And having that guy that is always well positioned, that can read the game, that can lower the pace when it needs to be lower, especially in the playoffs when spaces get tighter.
Hmm.
You need that guy, right?
Yeah, the guy
And
that is,
so
because we talk about also guys that relieve stress off like a number nine to hold the ball. You also need a guy like
right,
Ilya Sanchez to relieve the press when the defense is getting pressured. And
right,
I'm with you
exactly,
on that. I'm with you on that because yeah, I think Ilya Sanchez, Kellen Acosta, like I said, one of the guys, Cifuentes, is probably easier,
right.
potentially easier to replace. But I want to talk to you. We got to talk about Gareth Bell. Splash signing. It was a splash signing. But as of yet, to me, he's been underwhelming. He's not come in, and I expect whenever I see a superstar like this, I expect them to take over the league, right? Because you're a superstar. You came from Real Madrid or whatever. To me, I know there's still a couple more games left. There's still the MLS playoffs. He could probably turn things around, but it's the biggest I guess I don't know what the word is, shock, that he hasn't been able to play. I don't think he's played a full 90 minutes. I
No,
think his back really may be more a lot more serious than it actually is. I guess LAFC has the benefit of all these other players that they have, but Gareth Bale, as of right now, has not looked good, and it's not been a promising start for him for his black and gold career.
He came in totally unfit, physically unfit, and you saw it. You could easily, and I'm telling you for a fact that he was totally unfit. Um, you saw it with Buanga. Buanga kept training while he was waiting for the work visa, etc., to sort it out. That took like 3 weeks, and he was training. He was taking care of himself. And as soon as he landed in Houston that morning, noon, and he was on the roster to play that night
Mm-hmm.
when he made his debut. Chiellini got here too, if I'm not mistaken. He played like the next week. Bale took like 2-3 weeks, right, for him to see his first minutes. Like you said, I don't think he has played one game, I think, against Austin that he started, that he went 60 minutes or
Yeah,
something.
something like that.
The
Around 60
rest
minutes.
it's been small spurs, right? And Cherondolo, during all of that, was very clear he's unfit, he's in preseason form, etc., etc. So yeah, Bale has been disappointing. Bale has been a bust, and I think that's his only
A
contribution has
bust, a
been,
bust already. You think he's already a bust?
for now, between since he got here to right now, he's been a bust.
Okay.
I think he has been a negative on the
Mm-hmm.
field for LAFC, especially when they have played without Arango on the field. When
Mm-hmm.
it's for a while it was like Vela and Bale. Let's start with that. That
Mm-hmm.
Vela and Bale cannot play together. So
That is
that's
that is the
that's a problem.
craziest thing. That is the
That
craziest thing.
because you have two wingers that don't defend to start
Mm.
with, and this team and every team
Yeah.
that plays a 4-3-3 needs their wingers to defend and to
Mm-hmm.
help out. So I think what we're seeing here again, Bale is just gonna be a role player. He's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be a guy that is gonna come the last 30 minutes, maybe coming during halftime if it's needed. I don't think he starts moving forward, and I think he's just a guy that is gonna come from the bench when he's needed, because that's the 11 that
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna see moving forward. What we saw on Saturday. So yeah, like you said, Bale should have been immediately what Bernardeschi was for Toronto,
Mm-hmm.
what Cucho was for Columbus.
Yep.
We're seeing the Bale for the last 2 years in Real Madrid. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's fully engaged. I don't know. I'm not accusing him to not be, but we gotta remember that in a couple of months there's the World Cup.
Yeah.
So do we really think that he doesn't have his mind just set in the World Cup and getting healthy and fresh to a World Cup? And the people that say no, he needs to play. He doesn't need to play. He didn't play with Madrid, and every time he stepped on the field with Wales, he was a different player. So yeah, for me, he's been a bust. He should have been the best player in the league as
Mm-hmm.
soon as he came, and he has been far from it. Again, he should have been a direct positive impact, like Bernardeschi was in Toronto, like Cucho was in Columbus. So yeah, I don't see him starting, and I don't see him being a huge factor moving on.
Yeah. To me,
And
it's go
and
ahead.
sorry, I don't think he's gonna stay next year.
You don't think he's gonna stay next year?
That's my belief. I don't think he stays,
How come?
especially
How come?
he's not worth a DP, because we
He's not-
gotta we gotta remember this player,
uh-huh.
what we're seeing right now, you cannot spend a DP spot on this.
I would I would agree with you. I think there's also other. I agree with you on all how he's not played DP level. I just also see the other side of it where LAFC has been so excited and the folks in the organization have been so excited that I think they'd be willing to give him another year. look, I know this is not on the field. To me, everything that on the field matters. But also, we've seen him be like the number one jersey sale things. He's been able to bring the team the league money, and I think for that reason alone, I think he'll be back next season. Just for that reason alone, and the hope to potentially get him to give him another go. But I'm with you on the field so far. To me, yeah, he's not looked good, and it's very surprising that he's not dominated the MLS, because I was like everybody when he was announced,
Yeah,
everybody was like, I was like, okay, you have Vela, you have Carlos Vela, you're like trying to see how you could put the lineups together, and it's so weird. You bring up the point. Carlos Vela and him have not worked together. Have not been able to work together on the as a starting 11. You're right, because Bell's not going to track back. Vela, we see
nope.
Vela at times defend pretty good, but if you have two players that are not going to be able to, that are not tracking back or not putting the defensive effort like a Dennis Bouanga, like a Mahala, it's kind of hard to start both of them. And that to me
Yeah,
is the craziest thing, that you can't start Carlos Vela and Gareth Bale, both being superstars, because they, for being positives offensively, they may be a bigger deficiency because of all the other players that you have around. It's really hard for me to see Gareth Bell, as crazy as this may sound, start over Dennis Bouanga. I just don't see it, or
right.
starting over Chicho. I just don't see it, because
No, I think
they just have so
I,
much momentum up top.
I think we saw what we needed to see.
Hmm.
And again, I think Sherondolo tried to experiment, right? Playing Bale as a false nine with Carlos and Opoku, or playing Bale and Vela with Arango, like we saw
Hmm.
on Austin, and it doesn't work. And that's my point against bringing Bale back next year, because if Vela stays, right,
Hmm.
next year, um, you're gonna be confronted with this problem again,
Yeah.
right? They cannot play together, and yeah, they are amazing talents, and you can say no, well, they're figured out. No, tactically, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So for the rest of the season, these two games plus the playoffs, yeah, having Gareth Bale coming off the bench, it's amazing.
Hmm.
Like what we saw when he scored in Salt Lake City.
Hmm.
When you have a team that is already tired on the 60th minute, 70th minute, and you plugged in Gareth Bale, the rivals are like, "Are you serious? Like, come on, man, this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
cheating, right?" So that's. But I just cannot. If I'm the front office, I a guy that I can just use from the bench cannot doesn't justify the value of being a DP, which
I agree.
we're seeing it in Atlanta with Joseph Martinez right now.
Yeah.
He
No,
has
no
another year.
DP should be coming off the bench. I'm with you on it.
Exactly.
Let me ask
Exactly.
you this:
So right.
what the 4-3-3? I get it, because you need one of those wingers to come back. You can't have all three guys stay up top.
Right.
Obviously they're not going to do this year, but let's say next year. Do you think this could work with a different formation? Because we did see them with the 3-5-2 or whatever they played against Minnesota United. But do you think this pairing, Carlos Vela Bell,
Yeah.
could work in a different formation?
Um I know they thought at the beginning of the season trying out a 4-2-1-3 with a double pivot, that
Mm-hmm.
you have the pieces. You can play Ilie and Kellen, especially if you sell Cifuentes, and you can play Vela as that free number 10,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, Maybe you could give it a try, but then your or other winger, like in this case, going to be Buanga, and your number 9, they need to defend. So if you're playing Vela as the free flow number 10, I, I don't think he's gonna defend a lot. I don't think he's gonna track uh, uh, the opposition the way you want. For example, like Drusy does in
Mm-hmm.
Austin, or Mukhtar does in Nashville, that they drop so deep that sometimes Drusy is behind the number 6, helping out on defense, on helping the ball progress. That's not Carlos Vela.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see it working. If Vela stays, and I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see it. And the thing is that if Bale stays the way, if you can keep Bale the way you have him right now as a 10 player, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe rotating him with Carlos, I think that would work. That could work. But if you're gonna keep the same 4-3-3, which I think Cherondolo has no business changing
Mm-hmm.
for the next year, because it's been working well, and that's the way he likes to play. Um, Giving a DP to Gareth Bale and not being able to use him alongside Vela, it doesn't fit.
Yeah.
I don't think how can you justify it.
I agree with that. I just think they're gonna keep him because it's just Gareth Bale, and I think that's what they may do. I'm just making an assumption here. Let me ask you this, because he's come off the bench, but as of late, he's not looked good even off the bench. I know he had the RSL
Mm-hmm.
goal, but since then,
Yeah.
even off the bench, it's not. I don't know. It's not look good. It's not look good. But like maybe I don't know. Maybe moving forward. But I mean, we just haven't seen that excitement or that spectacle. Because to me, I never thought Gareth Bale was coming off the bench. I thought he was going to come off the bench for a couple games, get his feet wet, get conditioned. But now I'm with you. Now he's looking like he's like the number one, the number two option alongside Mahala to come
Yeah.
off the bench. But even off the bench, I feel like sometimes it's still hard for him to connect with some of those guys up top.
Because it takes time, and I think Cherondolo, the one mistake that we can point, and the one criticism that I think it's fair to give him, is that, and I don't think it's everything on him, because this team was a very well-oiled machine, and then all these changes starting to happen, right? And then it's like, okay, here is a complete set of wingers and set of attackers. Now Cherondolo deal with it and make it work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's been tough, and I believe that he should have been a little bit more quick and strict of defining that Bale wasn't gonna work with Carlos, for example,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think he could have been more quick in establish, just, okay, these are my three guys, and I don't care that all you people expect, and I don't care that this guy is called Gareth Bale. He can start, right? So, and of course, I see the other side. You're a coach, and they brought Gareth Bale to you. You want to make it work, right? You want this to work, because it's
Yeah.
Gareth Bale. He's supposed to be the best player on the league once he stepped foot on the field. But yeah, I don't know. And then again, with him and his past behavior in Real Madrid, I don't know, and I don't want to speculate what he's on his mind. Like, he's just trying to chill until the World Cup. He's just trying to take care of his body and not put that effort physically to not get injured. I don't know what to do with him.
Yeah.
Honestly, the one thing I know is that I don't see him starting again, especially in the playoffs. And if he doesn't like that role, and he's not gonna put the effort when he's asked to come on the field for the last 30 minutes, 25 minutes, or whatever it is, then Cherondolo is gonna have to make tough decisions, and maybe put Teo and Opoku ahead of Bale,
Mm-hmm.
right? In the totem pole. So let's see. These next 2 weeks are going to be interesting to see how this team finish the season, and how Gareth Bale plays a role in it.
Yeah, look, I'm still with you. I still think Dennis Boanga, Carlos Vela, and Chicho Rango are the best three. but
Yeah.
I still I something tells me that they're gonna try. They're gonna try to start Bell in one of these games. Like
I don't think you
but
have the luxury to try. That's the thing. I don't think you
I'm
have the
with you.
luxury. I don't.
I'm 100% with you. But something tells me that they're gonna try it one more time. They're gonna try it
Okay.
because it's Gareth Bale. I've seen enough for Boanga. I've seen enough from Chicho. I've seen enough from Carlos Vela. But I think they're gonna give it a try because it is Gareth Bale. Look, that's just I don't know anything, but that's just my intuition. I feel like they're gonna do it, and what we've seen so far from Bell, I don't know. I don't know. It may be tricky, but yeah, we'll have to see. There's two more games. They end up playing Portland away in Portland, and then they finish up at home against Nashville. So I think these next two games, they're really going to matter. I mean, LAFC ended up getting first place, regardless of what happens. But I think for Portland, that could be a potential team that they may potentially face down the line. Nashville is also fighting for a playoff positioning. So right now, currently Nashville's in fourth, Portland is in fifth. So yeah, these next two games are going to be very, very important.
Yeah.
I think LAFC will want to finish strong because, like you mentioned, they're gonna have the first round of the playoffs off.
Yeah.
Michele, is there anything else you'd like to add on before we let you go?
Um. Not nothing. People need to chill with LAFC criticism.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
I
that's never
think
gonna stop. That's never gonna stop.
no. I yeah. I chill in the sense of this team is going nowhere,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something that people need to understand. Um, Sherondolo was dealt a lot to try to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
In the mid of the worst time to do that, which is during the summer, and playing in 3 times in Texas in a span of 2 weeks, and the traveling. So I do believe that now with the FIFA break and then having the first round of the playoffs off, this team is gonna be locked in physically. And again, I do see this starting 11 playing again for the next 2 weeks and give these guys, especially this front three, all the repetitions that they need. And I think they are hands down still and again the favorite to win MLS Cup. And if they don't win MLS Cup, then it's fair to be hard on them
Yep.
because it's since the beginning. It's MLS Cup or bust. It's
Yep.
not just reaching MLS Cup. It's not just getting to the Western Conference final and oh my God, we lost in penalty kicks. Because that's some excuse that some teams or players. No, yeah, it's a 1 game sample, but you should be better than any team, any given day, any given night, and they will play. Then that's the important thing with the supporter shield. If you win it, you play.
At
You don't
home.
have to travel.
Mm-hmm.
You're at home in LA during a whole month. So yeah,
And
I
they've
think.
played way better at home than they've
Oh
played
my
on the
God,
road recently. And you don't want to go.
it's night
You
and
don't want to.
day.
Yeah, you don't want to go on the road if you can have if you can host MLS Cup. I mean,
Yeah, so I I yeah, I think they're hands down again the big favorites to win MLS Cup.
I completely agree. Well, that's all the time we have, Michele. Thank you so much. You brought a lot of insight, a lot of great takes, and yeah, we'll see what happens with this LAFC team moving forward. Guys, definitely give Michele a follow. He does a great job covering all around the league. He's all over. He's all over the country, man. He's covering all. He's covering MLS team too as well. So for Michele, this is.